Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to the Wacky World Lounge. I'm your host, R. Sterling, and tonight we'll be discussing my favorite 1950s giant insects. And number 5 on the list, the wasp from Monster from Green Hell from 1957. And The Monster from Green Hell tells the story of an experiment where scientists are sending different animals into space to test their survival rates. And wouldn't you know it, the rocket-carrying wasp, the bugs, not the band, malfunctions and goes off course. It then crashes back on Earth with a bunch of cosmically mutated wasps. And wasps of a normal size are intimidating enough as is, but these giant mutants take it several steps further with their strange, almost skull-like alien appearance. Now, it's often said that channel regular Paul Blaisdell designed the giant wasp and operated the head of the puppet. A fact that Blaisdell himself has denied, saying he only sent in a few sketches of giant insects. It appears that the actual designer was none other than the legendary Hua Chang of Star Trek fame. And there were many visual effects artists that worked on the film, but I wanted to mention the stop motion effects, which were handled by Gene Warren, who also worked on The Time Machine and was a producer on Land of the Lost. And number 4 on the list, the Grasshoppers from Beginning of the End, also from 1957. Beginning of the End tells the story of an agricultural scientist who grows some giant vegetables using radiation, but then they are eaten by some locusts who grow into giants and begin attacking Chicago, as giant grasshoppers often do. Now, this one uses the most impractical of all practical effects: live grasshoppers with a combination of split screen, static mats, and rear projection. And set effects were done by Burt I. Gordon, the producer and director of the film, who also did The Amazing Colossal Man and Earth vs. the Spider. Gordon worked out of his garage at home with 200 live, non-flying grasshoppers he purchased in Texas. But by the time he got back to California and got to work, only 12 remained. Apparently they had eaten all the others, and at one point Gordon had considered using animated locusts, but it proved to be far too expensive. He also considered building miniatures for them to crawl around on. This was also deemed too costly, so instead Gordon just used still photographs of Chicago landmarks and had the grasshoppers crawl around on top of them. And number 3 on the list, the Scorpions from The Black Scorpion, also from 1957. And I know what you're thinking, scorpions aren't technically insects, but you get what you pay for. But The Black Scorpion is a Mexican-American production about an earthquake in Mexico which causes the formation of a new volcano. And when the volcano erupts, it brings forth giant prehistoric scorpions, as volcanoes actually do in reality. Not saying this one is a true story, but you know how it goes. But the prehistoric scorpions in the film are easily the most charming looking of our giant insects. With those big doe-like eyes, you just want to cuddle these guys, though I probably wouldn't recommend it. Willis O'Brien, who was the man behind the stop motion effects in the original King Kong, was the special effects supervisor on The Black Scorpion. But it's said that Pete Peterson, who worked with O'Brien on Mighty Joe Young, did most of the stop motion work here. And a large-scale scorpion head was used for the scorpion close-ups. The effects in this one are top-notch. Some fine stop-motion action right here. And on that, we should take a break of some kind.
Raid's here! Raid! 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 Raid!
Yes, Raid. New bug killer discovery from Johnson's Wax. Raid contacts and kills all kinds of bugs indoors. Raid hunts them down like radar. Sweeps bugs from the air. Attacks them as they crawl. And kills them dead. A little goes a long way. Kills bugs even where they hide. Yes, Raid kills flies, mosquitoes, roaches, ants, all kinds of bugs indoors. Outdoors, Raid protects your garden, too. A little kills insects that attack flowering plants, evergreens, vegetables. Caution, ordinary household sprays kill plants. Raid saves plants. So don't buy several bug killers. Get Raid, first bug killer for house and garden. Raid House and Garden Bug Killer.
Brought to you by the Jolly Green Giant, your best friend in peas and corn.
Oh, how hard is the Jolly Green Giant, you see on the label with golden corn and tender beans. Jolly Green Giant will set up your table with golden corn and tender feed. The Jolly Green Giant is he. 5 feet, 4 fun, 5 feet. The Jolly Green Giant is he. 5 feet, 4 fun, 5 feet.
And we're back with number 2 on the list, and that's The Spider from Earth vs. the Spider from 1958. And much like scorpions, I know spiders aren't technically insects, but if I didn't have a giant spider on this list, I probably would have been thrown off YouTube. That's the rules, people, I don't make them. The Earth vs. the Spider tells the story of a giant tarantula of unknown origin that suddenly begins terrorizing a small town. But I suppose small town versus the spider doesn't exactly have the same ring to it. Though interestingly, the film's title was changed for promotional materials to simply The Spider in order to capitalize on the success of The Fly. Yet the on-screen title was never changed. And this is another example of using a mostly live-action spider for the effects. And once again, it came courtesy of director Burt I. Gordon, who you may remember directed a film called Beginning of the End, which I talked about in a previous entry. And then the life-size spider leg, as well as the mummy-like corpse, were created by the great Paul Blaisdell. And if you're playing a drinking game using mentions of Blaisdell on this channel, well, bottoms up. But back to the effects. Gordon really took his craft to the next level in this one, and the spider scenes are quite effectively skin-crawling. And number 1 on the list, The Ants from Them from 1954. And Them is easily the high watermark for all giant insect movies, and it really helps set the stage for the rest of the 1950s. It tells the story of a colony of giant ants mutated by the first atomic testing near Alamogordo, who go on to do what giant insects do. And this is a perfect example of the giant bug creature feature. The effects are incredible, and never would I have imagined ants being such fearsome creatures. The construction and operation of said ants, of which there were supposedly only 3 in total, were overseen by Ralph Ayers, who went on to do the effects for mostly war films and westerns. There was actually a brief shot in the film where the side of one of the ants had accidentally been left off, showing its mechanical interior. The DVD version of the film has since fixed this little blooper. And finally, the sound of the giant ants was actually that of a bird-voiced tree frog, and some sources claim that there were actually 3 additional bird noises mixed in as well. And that's all the time we have this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, and keep it wacky.
What was that?
I don't know.